Okay, so we're going to review this entire quiz so you guys could be ready for the first 19 questions on this Friday's test. So here we go. Guess what? I am not going to explain questions 1, 2, and 3. Why not? Hint, it might not be on the test Friday. Let me tell you this, guys. Question 4 and 5, that will be on the quiz Friday, okay? But I'm not going to explain it on this video because there will be another video focusing in just on this type of question, okay? So we're going to have a separate video explaining that. Let's jump to the actual solving equations portion of this quiz. And let's start with number 6. So here's your equal sign. You have the left side of the equal sign, the right side. You want to get B by itself. B is clearly on the left side. It's not by itself. There's a -2. So you want to get rid of that -2 by doing the opposite, +2. And of course, what you do to one side, you do to the other side, +2. So you have the B left over. You could bring that down, the equal sign. And -11 plus 2, you owe $11. You have $2. You're still going to owe. You can't pay them off. You're going to owe 9. There's your answer. B equals 9. If you wanted to, you could plug it back in to double check your answer. -9 plugged in right here. -9 minus 2, that would be -11. You owe $9. You owe $2. You're going to owe $11 altogether. Number 7. I'm going to get rid of the -14 by going +14. What I do to one side, I do to the other. I have y, the equal sign comes down. -2 plus 14, that's 12. If I owe $2 and have 14, I will still have a lot of money left over. I'd have $12 left over. Moving on. So I want to get t by itself on the left side of the equal sign. So I need to get rid of this -7, Adrian. How do I get rid of that -7? It's really -7 times t, so I need to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing by -7. That'll cancel out. What I do to one side, I do to the other. T equals -7. Because 49 divided by -7 is -7. Moving on to number 9. On any equation, actually on any math problem, whenever you have a minus, you should change it to plus before doing anything. Okay, so now you want to get h by itself. This is a positive h. If you want, rewrite it. It looks a little better now, no more parentheses, just 4 plus h equals 68. Let's get rid of that addition of 4. How do you get rid of the 4? You subtract 4. And of course, what you do to one side, you do to the other side. So on the left side, obviously it cancels out. You have h that comes down, the equal sign comes down, and 68 take away 4 is 64. Number 10, you have y on the left side of the equal sign. It's over here. You need to get it by itself. You don't want this divided by 9. So how do you get rid of something? You do the opposite. The opposite of dividing by 9 is multiplying by 9. Now, I want everybody to note, again, that this multiplication of 9 is up on top. You don't put it down here, you put it on top, because that way, when you have a 9 on top over a 9 on the bottom, that's where they actually cancel out. 9 over 9 is 1, it cancels out. But if you multiplied by 9 on the left side, you're going to have to multiply by 9 on the right side. So you're going to end up with y equals -8 times 9 is -72. That's your final answer on number 10. Number 11. Where's the v at? Is it on the left side or the right side of the equal sign?
Right.
On the right. Is it by itself? No, it has 11 times v. You don't want this multiplication of 11. So you're going to do the opposite of multiplying by 11, which is dividing by 11. So you can put a division bar 11, because what you do to one side, you must do to the other to maintain the balance. And of course, the 11s cancel. You have v equals -2. I would write it as this, v equals -2. I put the letter on the left and the number on the right. Let's move on to number 12. So I need to get n by itself. Now notice I do have a fraction here. I don't want a fraction. I could multiply everything by the denominator, which is 6. In other words, this is saying 1 divided by 6. So if I don't want this divided by 6, I could multiply by 6, and that'll get rid of it. So again, I'm going to put times, the times dot. Don't put x's anymore. That's elementary school, right? Middle school. So times 6 up here. And what I do to one side, I must do to the other. So I multiply by 6 over here. So the 6 on top with the 6 on the bottom truly do cancel out. And what I have left is an equal sign, the negative, the 1, and the n. As a matter of fact, you don't even need the 1. You could just put -n. But on the left side, you do have 6 times 31. 6 times 30 is 180, and 6 times 1 is 6. So you really have 186 on the left side. Now you still need to get x, or in this case n, by itself. So there's a -1 times n. I need to get rid of that multiplication of -1. So I want to divide by -1. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to have n equals negative 186. It's better to write it with the n on the left and the actual answer on the right. There's your answer. Number 13, we want to get q by itself on the left side of the equal sign. There's a fraction, 2/7. Let's get rid of the fraction by multiplying both sides by the denominator 7. So I'm going to multiply the left side by 7. Again, notice that I wrote the 7 up on top so that it'll cancel with the 7 on the bottom. But if I multiply by 7 on this side, I have to multiply by 7 on the other side. So yes, the 7s cancel on the left, and I have a 2q left over. The equal sign comes down, and negative 4 times 7, that's negative 28. So I have a new, simpler equation, 2q, there's no more fraction, equals negative 28. So if I want to get rid of the multiplication of 2 in front of the q, I'm going to have to do the opposite of multiplying, which will be dividing by 2. That'll cancel out. What I do to one side, I do to the other. I will have q, the equal sign, negative 14. Half of negative 28 is negative 14, and that's my answer. Number 14. Again, you want to get q by itself. There's a divided by 24, so what are we going to do to get rid of the division of 24? Multiply by 24. And put that 24 up on the numerator position. What you do to one side, you do to the other side. So again, I put the 24 on top because when it's 24 over 24, it truly does cancel out. So what do I have left? I have a q, an equals. Now, if I did multiply, which I did, by 24 on the left side, I need to multiply by 24 on the right side. So let's think about this. I have 24 up on top, 6 on the bottom. That's really 24 divided by 6. Or you could just multiply the top with the top. 1 times 24 is 24, but it's still over 6. And that fraction is really a division problem. So 24 over 6, what's 24 divided by 6? Anybody? 4. So q equals 4. There's my answer for number 14. Number 15. C is clearly on the left side of the equal sign. I need to get c by itself. I don't want this fraction. I don't want the divided by 4, and then I don't want the minus 5. Let's get rid of the fraction first. Let's get rid of that divided by 4 by doing the opposite, which is multiplying by 4. Again, notice that I put it up on top. That way it'll be 4 over 4, which cancels. But what I do to one side, I do to the other. I need to multiply the 3 by 4 as well. So again, the 4 over 4 cancels. I have a new equation that says c minus 5 equals 3 times 4 is 12. For my final step, I get rid of that minus 5 by adding 5 to both sides. And I will have c equals 17. There's my answer. Number 16. I want to get q by itself. What do I get rid of first? The movie star's buddy or the bum at the corner? The bum. Bum at the corner. That minus 7, the loner. Let's get rid of that guy by doing the opposite of minus 7, which is plus 7. Cancels out. What you do to one side, you do to the other side. So what do I have left? I have a 3/4 q with the equal sign. 8 plus 7 is 15. There's my new equation. It's a little bit nicer. I still need to get rid of the fraction by multiplying both sides by 4. You can get rid of any fraction by multiplying by the denominator of that fraction that you want to get rid of. So yes, the 4 on top and the 4 on the bottom cancel out. My new equation will be 3q equals 4 times 10 is 40, 4 times 5 is 20, 40 plus 20 is 60. So 15 times 4 is 60. Final step will be to divide by 3. Divide by 3. Q equals 20 is your final answer for number 16. Let's move on to number 17. Once again, the variable is on the left side of the equal sign. It's not by itself. There's a divided by 5 and a plus 6. A lot of people want to get rid of the fraction first, but it's really easiest to get rid of this loner, the bum at the corner. The plus 6, it's really easy to get rid of. All you do is the opposite, which is minus 6. That cancels out. What you do to one side, you do to the other side. Your new equation will be u over 5 equals negative 4. Final step, what do I do? To get rid of that divided by 5, what do I do? Multiply by 5, and you put that on top. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Multiply by 5. The 5s really do cancel. U comes down, equals, u equals, there you go, negative 20. There's your answer for number 17. Number 18. So I want to get f by itself. So let's first start by getting rid of what? The loner at the corner, right? The negative 32. I need to get rid of that negative 32. I want to get rid of it by doing the opposite, which is positive 32, plus 32. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So the 32 and the negative 32 cancel out. The equal sign's here. My left side of my equation comes down, negative 3/5 f, that 5's ugly, sorry, and negative 17 plus 32, 15. So I still need to get rid of this fraction, which is 3 over 5. So I want to get rid of this divided by 5 by doing the opposite, which would be multiplying by 5. Okay, that'll cancel it out. What do I have left? I have negative 3f equals 15. Now what is this really? It's really a negative 3 times f. So if I want to get rid of the multiplication of negative 3, I want to do the opposite of multiplying by negative 3, which is dividing by negative 3. Now remember, if you want something to cancel, it has to be the same exact value. If you have a 7, you have to divide by 7. If you have a 13, you have to divide by 13. If you have a negative 3, you have to divide by negative 3 for it to cancel. And it does cancel. So what do I have left? F equals a positive 15 divided by a negative 3. That's negative 5. There's your final answer for number 18. Number 19, a lot of people messed up on this one. All you have to do is multiply everything by your largest denominator. In this case, 8 will do the job. It'll get rid of all fractions at once. Check it out. Multiply by 8, put the 8 up on top. Multiply by 8, 8's up on top. Multiply by 8, put the 8 up on top. So it's easy to see that the 8 over 8 cancels and the 8 over 8 cancels. So far I have the equal sign, I have the number 7, I have a negative 1 because that's what's left right here. I have a minus sign and a 1, that's negative 1 left over. And right here is the only work that you actually have to do. When you think of the 8 being on top divided by 2 on the bottom, 8 divided by 2 is what? 4. So the 8 and the 2 actually give you a 4, and that 4 is left over up on top because the bigger number 8 was on top. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and it's up on top. So I have a 4 up on top times 1 up on top. So that's 4 times 1, that's 4, and it's with a y, so that's 4y. So I have a 4y left over. So just by multiplying this by 8, this by 8, that by 8, it got rid of all fractions. I end up with a new equation without fractions. 4y minus 1 equals 7. So now I want to get rid of that minus 1. So obviously I'm going to do the opposite of minus 1. It's going to cancel. What I do to one side, I do to the other. My new equation will become 4y equals 8. For my final step, I divide by 4, and I divide by 4, and y equals 2 is my final answer on that one. Final equation on this front side of the quiz. We're going to have to multiply both sides by 5. If you don't want the divided by 5, you're going to have to multiply by 5. And what you do to one side, do to the other. Multiply by 5 over here. Again, notice that I put the 5 on top because that's the only way the 5 and the 5 cancels. 5 over 5 is 1. That's why it cancels right there. 5 over 5 cancels out. So what's left? You have a 3k minus 7 equals 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 6 is 30. 50 plus 30 is 80. 16 times 5 is 80. So let's continue solving here. I want to get rid of the minus 7, the bum at the corner, the loner. This is like the movie star's buddy, so wait at the end to get rid of the 3. Right here, let's get rid of the minus 7 first. So you're going to subtract 7, actually add 7 to get rid of the minus 7. And what you do to one side, you do to the other, add 7. That cancels out. You're going to have 3k equals 87. Final step, divide by 3, divide by 3. So the final answer is 29. The 3's cancel, k equals 29. That is the front side of this quiz that you were supposed to correct. I just corrected it all for you right there. And I did go super fast, so you guys could go back and hit pause to slow me down a bit. All right, so go back, watch this over. And keep in mind, guys, on the test Friday, the first 19 questions are coming from this quiz. Now, I will be changing at least one number on most of them. Some of them will be identical, but like number 6 right here on this quiz is a B minus 2. Number 6 on Friday's quiz might be like a B minus 3. So if you understand this, you're going to be able to do Friday's quiz. So again, I want to go through each one of these and change a number. Maybe right here, I'll keep this divided by 9, but make this a negative 7. That way you multiply by 9, but it's a different answer. Same exact math process though.